Let's check the latest news update with Vishal.
Hello and welcome to Friends World TV. I'm your host, Vishal Venkatesh. And as you're probably aware of, there's been a lot of good and bad news in the last week. Some not so good and some which does give us hope, like a vaccine, for example. But let's get to the headlines and really unpack the news to its core. A ban on uranium mining in New South Wales could be overturned after 34 years next week, with the One Nation bill expected to receive the state government's support and report. The age of criminal responsibility is to be raised from 10 to 14 if the ACT Labor Party is re-elected after the government endorses reform. Victoria records the second lowest daily COVID-19 cases in almost 5 weeks and also 13 more deaths, unfortunately. Ken Wyatt encourages AFL fans to drape the Aboriginal flag around them to protest copyright stoush. Manchester Arena's bomber's brother, Hashim Abedi, has been given a 55-year sentence. Airbnb is banning house parties worldwide as it tries to clean up and remedy its reputation and comply with COVID-19 related limits on gatherings. The World Health Organization, WHO, says it hopes that the coronavirus crisis will be over in less than 2 years. The biggest Thailand protest is currently putting pressure on the government. Former Donald Trump advisor Steve Bannon pleads not guilty after being arrested on conspiracy to commit wire fraud linked to the border wall. Now to the ban on uranium mining. A ban on uranium mining in New South Wales could be overturned after 34 years next week, with the One Nation bill expected to receive the state government's support. A bill is basically calling to lift the ban on uranium mining and nuclear facilities and will be voted in the upper house on Monday. In March, the Deputy Premier, John Barillo, broke rank with the Liberals and confirmed that the National Party will actually support the bill. An Indigenous representative from Dubbo, where the state's largest deposit lies, says that allowing it to be mined will actually create a mass and disaster with many long-term impacts. New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian is also expected to back the One Nation bill, which is a surprise, of course. The ACT government has broken ranks to become the first jurisdiction to endorsing the age of criminal responsibility to 14 years. Children as young as 10 can currently be prosecuted, convicted and sentenced to juvenile detention in ACT and also across other states in Australia. But the ACT government has become the first to support this change, which now raises the age from what was previously 10 to what is now 14. National efforts at introducing this new legislative/reform change has stalled at a recent meeting at the Attorney General's, and the ACT Labor Party says that it is about to start work almost instantaneously on the reform after election, under the condition that it wins the election, of course. Victoria has recorded 182 new COVID-19 cases, and a further 13 people have unfortunately died. It takes the state's pandemic death toll to 398. There were 179 cases actually just yesterday and 9 deaths, marking the first time that numbers have dropped below the 200 category in over 5 weeks. The Minister for Indigenous Australians, Ken Wyatt, has urged fans attending the AFL Indigenous round to bring their own Aboriginal flag to make up for the fact that a copyright issue has stopped the league from basically displaying the flag as part of its official proceedings. WAM WAM Clothing has exclusive rights as of today to reproduce the Aboriginal flag as part of clothing. The AFL didn't actually enter into any commercial agreement with the term this year, but Mr. Wyatt has officially reported to the media that the flag should bring their own flag and also the fans who use the flag, and it also encourages them to wear it with pride and with respect during the matches as intended by Sir Douglas Nicholas. A man who helped his elder brother carry out the suicide bomb attack which killed 22 people at the end of an Ariana Grande concert in the English city of Manchester. Recent reports have confirmed that this man has been sentenced to 55 years in jail. In March, Hazem Abedi, aged 23, was found guilty for murder and for encouraging his brother Salman to blow himself up at the Manchester Arena as parents arrived to collect their children at the end of the concert, which occurred in mid-May 2017. Justice Jeremy Baker said the men were equally culpable and had deliberately targeted a concert attended by specifically young people, where almost half of those killed were children and teenagers. Airbnb is banning house parties worldwide as it tries to clean up and remedy its reputation in order to show that it's more compliant with COVID-19 related limits. Airbnb has always prohibited unauthorized parties, but the latest move is part of a much more elaborate and broader crackdown scheme. Only 2% of Airbnb's rentals globally can accommodate 16 people or more, and Airbnb says that the coronavirus-related closure of bars and nightclubs is leading to an increase in house parties. The World Health Organization says it hopes for COVID-19 to be over in less than 2 years. Meanwhile, South Africa's confirmed COVID-19 cases have surpassed 600,000, with the nation accounting for more than half of the continent's reported total. New York City in America, which was once an epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak, has managed to contain the virus as it has reopened infrastructure. But experts say, especially from the WHO, that there are still very prominent and spontaneous risks of an uptick in cases in autumn, according to public health experts. In follow-up to the Lebanon incident, Lebanon has officially imposed a partial lockdown for 2 weeks, just a fortnight, in an effort to counter COVID-19 infections, which have spiraled since the catastrophic explosion at Beirut port not long ago. India has reported 68,898 new COVID-19 cases just in the last day, and this is the third straight daily increase above 60,000, taking the total number of cases to 2.91 million, which is the third worst in the world after the United States and also Brazil. Deaths increased by what was previously 98 to now what is 54,849 deaths. And the Spanish Equality Minister, Irene Montero, has asked regions to order the closure of brothels in a bid to prevent new COVID-19 outbreaks, a week after the government shut most of the nightlife establishments and imposed various other restrictions. More than 10,000 Thailand protesters chanting "Down with dictatorship" and "the country belongs to the people" have railed in Bangkok in by far the biggest anti-discrimination governmental protest and demonstration since a 2014 coup. Protests are demonstrating against the arrest of student leaders and other educationalists and the power and wealthy of the monarch. The king has requested for the laws under which the critics and who are part of the monarch can be jailed for 15 years is not used. That is what he's putting forward, legally. Royalists have held counter-demonstrations in response to this public protest. US President Donald Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, has been charged with fraud over allegations that he ripped off donors to a fundraising campaign to support the building of the US-Mexico border wall, which is he's been talking about for years, of course. The We Build the Wall campaign solicited private donations to build a wall on the border with Mexico. Mr. Bannon is alleged to have funneled more than $1 million from the campaign for his personal use, some of the expenses which are luxurious in nature. Donald Trump has described the changes and the charges as a very sad and disheartening event. That's all the news for this week. Well, see you next week. Stay tuned to Friends TV for more. Thank you.